Movie buffs, welcome back to the Movie Bay. This is D. In today's video, I am going to submit my list for the Timtalktalkies Community Challenge, top 25 movies from the 70s. I love all of Tim's challenges. They're fantastic. I really get a kick out of the live stream that he do when he put the list out and then do his live stream. I love it. I get a kick out of it, especially the one he did for the 80s. Man, that was a banger. I really like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and give this man his list. Starting at number 25 from 1979, Apocalypse Now. Yes, how can you not like Apocalypse Now? Not only is Apocalypse Now a fantastic war movie, it's a good movie, period. I really do like this movie. I like the storytelling in this movie. The action is good enough. The characters, it's just a really good, well-rounded movie. Me personally, I look at this as more than a war movie. Some war movies, I say, okay, that's just another war movie. But certain ones like this, Hacksaw Ridge, Saving Private Ryan, even though that's a war, the definition of a war movie, it's so much heart and story there. You know what I mean? So Apocalypse Now. Now, definitely not comparing this to Saving Private Ryan or Hacksaw Ridge. They kind of different, but what I'm saying is this is a movie that you can watch when you're in the mood for a good movie, not just a war movie. Okay, so that was Apocalypse Now from 1979. Moving up to number 24. Number 24, we have, let's see, I have it here. Here we go. And that is Rocky 2. I love Rocky 2, 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, they're my favorites. I like them all, but those are my favorites. And this is Rocky 2. This is part of the Rocky Heavyweight Collection. Put that over here. Next up, we have at the number 23 spot from 1979, we have The Warriors. Man, what a classic this movie is. So many lines, so many quotes. I remember back during, during the 360 era, the Microsoft Xbox 360 era, Rockstar put out a phenomenal The Warriors video game. What a great video game that was. Wow. And I'm a gamer. Not as much as I used to, but I still game here and there. But I remember that game was incredible that they put out for the 360. But this movie is just a timeless classic. And I'm so glad that Hollywood didn't decide to go ahead and try to remake this. It just wouldn't work today. A movie like that, if you remake it shot for shot, scene for scene, maybe, but it wouldn't work in today's climate, social climate. Next, okay, so now we have at number 22, we have George C. Romero's Dawn of the Dead, another fantastic movie that I really get a kick out of. And this is a movie that has been remade, and the remake was pretty damn good. Some movies you can remake and do a good job, and some movies you just shouldn't. Just because you can remake a movie don't mean you really should. There's certain movies that I'm so glad they just didn't touch. Next up, we have, at number 21 from 1978, we have Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Invasion, the Pod People. You know what I'm saying? I like this movie. I like the way this movie, again, for me, pacing means a lot in the movie. Let's keep it going. Keep going. I like to watch a movie with minimal slowdowns in it, and this was a good movie, and I enjoyed the ending. At the number 20 spot, we have from 1978, we have King, the definitive version of a Martin Luther King movie. You heard me say that several times. Paul Winfield as Martin Luther King was just incredible. Coretta Scott, Cicely Tyson as Coretta Scott King. This movie is fantastic. Although this wasn't a theatrical release, this was a made-for-TV miniseries, and I think it ran for like 3 days. Phenomenal movie, guys. Phenomenal. At number 19 from 1977, we have The Car. I love this movie. The effects on this movie still look pretty decent today. There's only 2 effects that I question, but they look great back then. But today, all of it looked pretty good except for just 2. But again, this holds up well for us demonic car movies. We don't have a whole lot of them. And, the main 2 is this and Christine. There's a couple other more generic ones like Black Cadillac and a few others that come to mind. But The Car, classic movie. At number 18, we have Carrie from 1976, starring Sissy Spacek. A phenomenal movie. We all know the story of Carrie. There's a couple, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, there's 2 remakes to this, but this is by far the best one. Next up, number 17 from 1976, we have Rocky, the original Rocky movie. What, talk about a movie with a lot of heart. This movie got a lot of heart. You know, for me, the first 2 really, all of the Rocky movies to a degree got heart. But the first 3, I'm going to go ahead and say, got the most heart out of the whole series. And then they kind of got a little bit more heart with Rocky Balboa, because that movie was all heart. It was basically all story. So I love that one. But Rocky, the original from 1976. Okay. At number 16 from 1976, we have Taxi Driver. Ah, yes, Mr. Travis Bickle. De Niro gave an incredible performance in this movie. And this movie, the satire and a lot of the things that went on in this movie, inspired the Joker. You can see a lot of this movie in the Joker. A lot of inspiration was drawn from this movie for the movie The Joker. And De Niro popped up in that movie. So, there you go. Okay, let's see. That was Taxi Driver. Next up, from 1975, at the number 15 spot, we have One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I remember the first time I saw this movie, I had to watch it again. But when I watched it that second time, I just watched it a third time. And I've seen this movie probably about 7 times since I seen it, from the first time I seen it to now. And I love it. It's just a great movie. The story was just there. The acting was there. They had a great cast. It was great acting. It was a great movie. I loved it. One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Next up, we got, okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, I moved that one. At the number 14 spot, we have Death Wish, Charles Bronson. And for me, this is a series that I really like, because my late mom put me on to Death Wish because she was a huge Charles Bronson fan. My mom was a Charles Bronson fan. The same way my generation might be like big Bruce Willis fans, big Schwarzenegger fans. Her generation, they was Bronson fans. And she was a stomp down in the wall Bronson fan. So she put me on to Death Wish. I watched all of the ones with her, and I got all of them behind me. Death Wish. No doubt about that, baby. Death Wish. Love this series, because my late mom put me on to the series. And it's a good series, too. No doubt about that. Not all of them. The earlier ones was definitely the better ones. After 3, 4, and 5 was... At number 13 from 1975, Cooley High. What a banging ass coming of age film. I mean, I call it an urban coming of age film, because urban coming of age films is different than other coming of age films. The stories is different, and they special to me because I grew up in an urban area. So yes, Preaching Cochise, this movie was incredible. Sad ending. This movie had a sad but uplifting ending at the same time. You know what I mean? Cooley High. At the number 12 spot from 1974, Jack Nicholson, Faye Dunaway, Chinatown. Got to. Man, I remember the first time I saw this movie, I was like, wow, what a great movie. And I had to watch it again. And then I got the Two Jacks, which it's not a direct sequel to this one, but it's a sequel to this one. Sort of like, you could say U.S. Marshals is a sequel to The Fugitive. Not directly, but it's more of a continuation of the character versus the movie. And that was number 12, Chinatown. At the number 11 spot, we have The Godfather 2 from 1974. I loved all 3 of these movies, but I like 1 and 2 the most. I like 3. Some people, take a dump on 3. I like 3. I thought 3 was great, but 1 and 2 is really the ones for me. But The Godfather 2 from 1974. At the number 10 spot, we have, from 1974, Blazing Saddles. I remember the first time I saw this. The first time I saw this, I was about maybe 18, 19. And I saw this over my friend's house. you know, on, I think it was VHS. His parents was out, so we watched this. I don't think his parents let him watch it, but we watched it when his people was out, and we was over there playing video games, and he popped this in, and we started watching it. Yo, I'm trying to tell you. Wait a minute. I'm trying to think here. No. That's not the first time I saw this movie. That was the first time I saw a Body Double. I was thinking about Body Double. I know my homie, and we was younger when we saw Body Double. He was not supposed to watch that movie, but we watched it anyway. This one I saw, I was about 19 when I saw this one. This movie was cool. I was thinking about, I'm sorry about that. I got the story confused. Body Double is the movie that I saw, and I was a bit younger, and that was a forbidden movie, but I went over to my boy's house because they had a VHS player with all the tapes and all of that stuff. And we was watching movies over there. I got my movies mixed up. Anyway, Blazing Saddles from 1974. This is a Mel Brooks classic. This is my favorite Mel Brooks movie. Got my little story crossed there, but there we go. We made our way through it. At number 9, we got, from 1973, Mean Streets. Mean Streets, another De Niro movie on the list. There we go. At number 8 from 1973, we have the gold standard of exorcism movies. One of the top horror movies of all times. It still holds up pretty good. Even if you watch it today, it still looks pretty good. Certain scenes will still give you some goosebumps. It probably won't scare the bejeebies out of you like it did back in the day when you was younger, but it still got a few scenes that'll raise up some goosebumps. At number 7 from 1973, we have Clint Eastwood, High Plains Drifter. I mean, I love Western movies. It's just something about Western movies that I like. I just like the way the stories was told. I just like it. It's so different from where we live now. I just like it. And High Plains Drifter is one of my favorites. At number 6 from 1972, we have the original Godfather. Number 5, we also have Clint Eastwood coming back again. This time, his first movie that he directed. In other words, his directorial debut. We have Play Misty for Me. What I like about this movie is I like the acting, and this was Fatal Attraction before Fatal Attraction. You understand? This is a really good movie. I dug it. At the number 4 spot, we have Steven Spielberg's first movie, and this movie laid the groundwork for him to be able to do Jaws and really launched his career, and that is Duel. Duel is a fantastic movie. It plays on the demonic car genre, but I don't think this truck is demonic. I think there's an actual driver. You don't see a driver, but you're kind of under the impression that some psychopath is driving this truck. Fantastic movie. I dug it. Made for TV, too. At the number 3 spot, there's a twofer. Now, for me, I always put these together because you really can't separate these two movies because you need to see both to complete the story. This is not a part 1 and a part 2 where part 1 had a different story and part 2 had, it's the same story. The French Connection 1 and 2. This is the first half and this is the second half. That's just the way these go. Because part 2 pick up right where the first one left off. Picks up right there. Boom. A fantastic set of movies here. I'll call them 1. The French Connection 1 and 2. I think if they shot this movie today, this would be maybe one 3-hour movie, 3.5-hour movie. But it's a banger movie, one of the best car chase scenes put to film. And I always consider The French Connection 1 and 2 one movie. Now, you can drop a comment in the comment section if you disagree with that, but just because of the way the story is told, it's one movie for me. So that's The French Connection 1 and 2. Now, The French Connection 2 came out in 1975, and The French Connection came out in 1971. So there's a gap there. All right? At the number 2 spot for me, I have Dirty Harry. I love Dirty Harry. What can I say? I'm a sucker for these type of movies. These older 70s and 80s action movies. I love it. You don't get a lot of that grit no more in modern movies. There's really hardly any real action movie badasses around left anymore. I think they're trying to really Not trying to, but I think they did a good job at grooming Chris Hemsworth to be an action movie badass with The Extractor 1 and 2. I'd like to see more of him doing action movies, but there's not a lot. Like in my time, my younger years, we had a lot of action movie badasses, and Clint Eastwood was definitely one of them. Dirty Harry. Go ahead and make my day. Damn. You don't get banging lines like that no more. At the number 1 spot, now I know this one is going to draw probably a few side eyes, but I mean, I like George C. Scott. I like this movie, and I'm going to go ahead and put it at the number 1 spot because I wanted to get some love. And that's 1970's Patton. George C. Scott played George S. Patton, famous American tank commander. Yes. And the crazy thing about this movie is Scott didn't think he did a good job. He didn't think he did a good job in the role. And he didn't even want to see the premiere. But he did a phenomenal job. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he won an award for this movie too. Or it got nominated for, I know it got nominated for several awards. And I think he won an award for this movie. I got to do my research on that one. But I know Scott was a little conscious about playing such a strong character. But the studios and everyone, test screeners, they tried to reassure him like, dude, you did a good job. You killed it. But he felt some type of way about this performance. He didn't think he did a good enough job. But I'm here to tell the late Mr. Scott, you did a good job. So that's my number 1 pick, Patton. Fantastic. That's my top 25 movies from the 70s for the Timtalktalkies Community Challenge. I can't wait for the live stream. See you guys in the next one.